Have you ever been really, truly fired up about a new goal? Maybe learning an instrument or finally getting that side project off the ground. The first few weeks, there's just this rush of excitement. You could see the progress and then nothing. It just stops. The motivation seems to evaporate and you're left staring at this invisible wall you didn't even know was there.
Right? It's that classic 2 steps forward, 1 step back feeling. It makes you think you're doing something wrong, or maybe you just don't have what it takes. And that's a super common frustration. But what if that stall isn't a failure? What if it's actually a sign that something much deeper is happening?
So, there was this early 20th century writer, Genevieve Behrend, and she had a fascinating take on this. She said that this period where it feels like nothing is happening, well, that's a necessary part of the whole process. It's in that quiet phase that your mind is actually doing the hard work, building the foundation to make that new goal a real, permanent part of you. Today, we're going to unpack a framework for navigating this exact phase, not as a setback, but as a critical step forward.
Okay, so how do we stay on track when the track itself seems to have vanished? Behrend's ideas aren't about rigid rules you have to follow perfectly. It's much better to think of them as mental guardrails. They're just there to keep your focus steady and pointed in the right direction, especially when the path forward gets a little foggy.
It really boils down to 3 core ideas. First, you've got to hold a super clear picture of what you want. Second, you have to avoid contradicting that picture with your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And third, and this is a big one, you have to detach from needing to know exactly how it's all going to happen. Let's dig into what each of these really means. So, that first guardrail is all about your mental picture. Think of yourself as an architect with a blueprint. An architect doesn't just have a vague idea of a building, right? No, they have a precise plan for every single room, right down to the wiring. Your mental picture needs that same kind of detail. You're not just thinking about an outcome, you're feeling the reality of it so clearly that it becomes this stable internal mold for everything you do. And once you have that crystal clear blueprint, the next step is all about alignment. If your mental picture is the plan, then avoiding contradiction is making sure your entire construction crew, and that's your thoughts, your words, your daily actions, are all working from that exact same plan. This internal harmony, this consistency, is literally the bridge that connects an invisible idea to a visible, real-world result.
This brings us to the final and, maybe the trickiest guardrail, detachment. Now, this does not mean you just sit back and do nothing. Not at all. It means you release that anxious, white-knuckled effort to force things to happen. That forcing energy, that strain, it just signals doubt and stress to your system, which clouds your judgment. Detachment is about trusting the process and allowing for better, more creative solutions to show up.
So here's the really crucial point. The biggest reason our progress stalls out is because we're sending mixed signals without even realizing it. It's like we're holding a clear intention with one hand while actively canceling it out with the other through our own internal contradictions. Behrend explains that your mind works kind of like an old film projector. When the light is clear and steady, you get a sharp, focused image on the screen of your reality. But contradictory thoughts, the doubts, the worries, the complaining, they make that light flicker. And what's the result? A blurry, distorted image, or sometimes no image at all. Your forward momentum just gets completely neutralized.
So why on earth do we do this to ourselves? Well, on one side, we have this powerful, clear vision we're holding in our minds. But on the other side, we let our doubts, our fears, tip the scales against it. This internal tug-of-war usually plays out in 3 key areas: what we say, what we do, and our constant, anxious need to check for results.
Let's break these down real quick. Contradictory speech is when you say you want abundance, but you're constantly complaining about being broke. Contradictory habits? That's wanting to be healthy, but then stocking your kitchen with junk food. And anxious checking? That's the perfect metaphor of planting a seed and then digging it up every single morning to see if it's growing yet. Each one of these actions just screams disbelief.
Okay, that's all the theory, but what does this actually look like in the real world? Let's walk through a few everyday situations to see how these guardrails can become practical, tangible tools you can actually use.
So imagine you're leading a big project at work. If you're constantly talking about your anxiety over the deadline, that fear starts to infect the whole team's energy and performance. But when you apply these guardrails, you hold a clear picture of success. Your language in meetings becomes confident, solution-focused. You're not just managing a project anymore, you're aligning everyone's energy with that successful outcome.
Or think about a personal relationship. If your goal is a secure, trusting partnership, holding that mental picture of security is step 1, but then your actions have to line up. Anxious checking, like needing constant reassurance or looking through your partner's phone, directly contradicts that picture of trust. It sends a message of deep-seated doubt, but acting from a place of trust actually reinforces the very connection you want to build.
This is so powerful when it comes to new habits. Let's say you want to become a writer. A big, grand gesture like trying to write for 4 hours on day one, that usually just leads to burnout and it contradicts the idea of this being a sustainable part of you. But a smaller, aligned action, like writing for just 15 minutes but doing it every single day, that is way more powerful. That consistent little habit reinforces the identity of I am a writer and gets rid of that internal conflict.
So, how can you start putting this into practice right now without needing some huge, complicated system? Honestly, all you really need is a simple way to build your mental awareness as you go about your day.
And here it is. It might look really simple on the screen, but this is an incredibly powerful tool for self-awareness. At any point during your day, you can just do this quick mental spot check. And this isn't about judging yourself or trying to be perfect. It's just about noticing where your energy is really going and then having the power to gently guide it back on course.
You know, ultimately, this all comes back to a core idea in Behrend's work. True progress doesn't come from stressful, forceful effort. It flows from a place of ease and confidence. A cheerful, assured mindset, it isn't just a nice bonus, it's a key ingredient in the creative process that allows things to unfold naturally. So as we wrap up, I'll just leave you with this question to think about. What is the one small contradiction in what you say, in a habit, or in your mindset that you can just gently remove starting today? Focusing on just that one thing is more than enough. If you found this useful, our next explainer actually builds on these concepts. You can find that one and our entire playlist right here. Thanks for joining me.